My name is Caroline, and I live here in Lunenburg too. I'm real excited today because I'm going to be reading you some books from our library's collection, and I have a visitor with me. This little guy, he's a hedgehog. We can call him Hedgie because he's just the sweetest little hedgehog, and he's going to enjoy these books with us too. All right, so our first book is called Mama Built a Little Nest by Jennifer Ward. Mama Built a Little Nest. Mama built a little nest inside a sturdy trunk. She used her beak to tap, 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 the perfect place to bunk. Tree hole nests are also known as cavity nests, and they are created by the male and female woodpecker. This book is pretty special because it tells a story, and then it gives us a little bit of information about the different kinds of animals that we're hearing about. Mama built a little nest, a cup so wee and snug, with walls of moss and roof of sky and silky cobweb rug. The hummingbird makes a small cup-shaped nest. It uses spider webs so the little nest will stretch as the chicks grow. Mama built a little nest. Well, actually, she didn't. She found one that another made, and then she laid me in it. Not all birds build nests. The cowbird, Wida, and cuckoo find a nest built by other bird species. They lay their eggs in it and fly off, leaving their eggs in the care of the bird who built the nest. Mama built a little nest. My daddy helped out too. They placed my egg upon his feet. That's where I hatched and grew. The emperor penguin uses a living nest, the father penguin. The father uses his beak to roll the mother's egg upon his feet quickly, so it doesn't freeze, and carefully so it doesn't break. There it stays buried under his tummy folds for about 60 days, warm and protected. Mama built a simple nest upon a craggy ledge. She tucked me safe within her wings until my time to fledge. Certain birds, such as the falcon, create a nest called a scrape upon a high cliff edge. The mother and father may scrape away at the ledge, creating a small indentation. Daddy built a little nest, and then he built another, and another, and another, hoping to impress my mother. Like many wrens, a male cactus wren builds several dome-shaped nests to attract a female. If impressed, a female will choose one and then continue to add to its structure. Remaining nests may be used as resting places, called roosts, by the father and may also serve as decoys to confuse predators. Mama built a little nest. She used her beak to sew a woven nest of silky grass, the perfect place to grow. Weaver birds create very detailed woven nests by sewing and weaving together nesting materials. They pull grasses and fibers over, under, around, through, using only their beak and their feet. Mama built a little nest by digging out a burrow. It was a hoot, our little home, a safe and feathery furrow. The burrowing owl nests underground in a burrow nest. Can you imagine that, Mr. Hedgehog? A burrow nest. It's underground. It can dig its own burrow and uses an abandoned burrow created by a mammal. Mama built a little nest. She gathered twigs that float and placed them on the water to create a cozy boat. Grebes create a floating nest on the water and anchor it to water plants. Mama built a little nest. She made it on the ground. A simple nest, not very soft, with pebbles, smooth and round. Many shorebirds create scrape nests on the ground. Their eggs often have colors and patterns to help camouflage them with their environment. Can you find the eggs in this picture? Daddy built a little nest. Now, don't gross out, with spit. Who would have thought that spit would make the perfect place to sit? A swiftlet makes an edible nest using tube-shaped saliva, which hardens in the air. Swiftlet nests are used in bird's nest soup, a Chinese delicacy. Have you ever had that? I have not. I wonder how it tastes. Mama built a sealed nest within an old tree's hollow. My daddy left a little hole to pass her food to swallow. The hornbill makes a cavity nest inside a tree hollow. With the female inside and the male outside, both birds use mud and droppings to seal the cavity. A small hole is left open, which the male uses to feed the female. She remains locked inside the nest to incubate their clutch. I think that means their eggs. After the chicks have hatched, the female breaks out, helping the male feed and care for their young from the outside until the chicks are old enough to leave the nest. Mama built a sturdy nest by stacking twigs up high, a breezy house upon a tree where talons blend with sky. The male and female bald eagle build a stick nest called an eyrie by gathering and layering many sticks. Their nests are among the largest of all the bird nests, usually 5 to 6 feet in diameter and 2 to 4 feet high. Wow. Mama built a little nest entirely out of mud. No feathery down, no soft green plants, just fuddy, muddy crud. The male and female flamingo build a mound-shaped nests on the ground using mud, into which the female lays just one egg. You have a nest, your very own, a place to rest your head, with pillows soft and cozy thoughts. Your nest is called a bed. So that is Mama Built a Nest. What did you think of that little Hedgie? I think he wants to go to sleep now. He's dreaming of his own bed. But you gotta wake up because we have another book. This one is called A Room with a View by Joanna Ho. Oliver gulps when Mama shouts, "Come on, bud, it's time for an adventure." Mama's idea of an adventure usually means stuffing the car until there's no space for Oliver's feet or arms or face, driving for a bazillion, gazillion, infinity times 10 hours, schlepping a tent somewhere. There might be bugs and bears and bats, and sleeping there. Now, this is a room with a view, Mama always says. So when Mama yells, "It's time for an adventure," Oliver knows what to do. One can never be too prepared. But nothing quite prepares him for this highway that stretches farther than forever, or the seconds that crawl slower than snails. Setting up the tent finally is a teensy bit of fun, but not when it's so dark he can't tiptoe to the bathroom alone. if there is one. Mama slides into her sleeping bag and sighs. Ah, now this is a room with a view. Oliver likes playing hide and seek on the trail, but Mama makes him walk until he is absolutely, positively sure his legs will fall off. She squeezes his hand and says, smiling, "You've got this," and she keeps going. This adventure, like all the ones before it, means eating spaghetti, black bean, broccoli, hamburger, meat, mush, or whatever Mama puts on his plate. Blech. Mama just rubs her belly before bed and says, "Now, this is a room with a view." The next morning, Oliver layers up because he is an adventure pro. And sometimes weather doesn't know whether it wants to be that day or this day, so it decides to be a little bit of everything. "Ollie, if we hurry, we can make s'mores," calls Mama. Oliver is the marshmallow roasting champion. But apparently, even the marshmallow roasting champion occasionally can smear s'more goo in his hair, which means getting a haircut that he doesn't want, because Mama says it's better than becoming bear food. Everything about this is pretty much the worst thing ever. They are smoky and unshowered and shorn, but Mama kisses him on the nose and says, "Now this is a room with a view." Oliver isn't sure why anyone wants to go on adventures at all. He will let Mama know that his room at home has a perfectly good view. Thank you very much. She can look out her window, he can lay in his bed, and the tent can go back in the garage, and they'll never have to go places or do things again. Yes, this is a good plan, thinks Oliver. But then he might miss their car ride concerts and their epic dance battles. Oliver really doesn't mind those. He does mind highways that stretch farther than forever. Yet Oliver kind of likes making headlamp shadow puppets and winning the marshmallow roasting championship every night. But he can't forget about s'mores in his hair, and then no more hair. Except he does look forward to finding footholds on boulders, munching meals on mountains, and splashing in swimming holes. And Oliver definitely loves orange ice pops. He only gets those while adventuring with Mama. "Good morning, Bud," Mama says. "Ready for our adventure today?" Maybe adventures aren't so terrible. Maybe he can try again, though some parts might not be his favorite. There are sunrise surprises and good morning snuggles, hiking trail treasures and tickle time huggles, goopy mud puddles, underground tunnels, fireflies, and starry skies, and a room with Oliver's favorite view of all. That sounds like a nice trip, a nice adventure that they had. Do you like to go on adventures, Hedgie? I think he's saying yes. For our next book, we've got Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. And our special guest is Horton. Hedgie went home and Horton joined us for his book, and he's so excited to hear all about his own adventure. On the 15th day of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked towards the sound. "That's funny," thought Horton. "There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person was calling for help. "I'll help you," said Horton. "But who are you? Where?" He looked and he looked, but he could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. "I say," murmured Horton, "I never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So, you know what I think? Why, I think there must be someone on top of that very small speck of dust. Some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small." So gently, using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. "Humph," humped a voice. "'Twas a sour kangaroo." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said humph too. "Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been." "Believe me," said Horton, "I tell you sincerely. My ears are quite keen and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4, quite likely. A family, for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please," Horton said, "as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be." "I think you're a fool," laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Newell." And the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool. "What terrible splashing," the elephant frowned. "I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they." So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. Through the high jungle tree tops the news quickly spread. "He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower." And Horton walked, worrying, almost an hour. "Should I put this speck down?" Horton thought with alarm. "If I do, these small persons might come to some harm. I can't put it down, I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small." Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. A voice so faint he could barely hear it. "Speak up, please," said Horton. He put his ear near it. "My friend," said the voice, "you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks in this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores." "You mean," Horton gasped, "you have buildings there too?" "Oh yes," piped the voice, "we most certainly do." "I know," called the voice. "I'm too small to be seen, but I'm the mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us they aren't too big, they're wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, and I am a Who, and we Whos are all grateful and thankful to you." And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, "You're safe now. Don't worry, I won't let you down." But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, "What rot! This elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any Whos, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all this nonsense, so there." They snatched Horton's clover and carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing. And they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant could even speak, the eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, "Please don't harm my little folks. who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly through the night through. I'm a bird. I don't mind it. And I'll hide this tomorrow, where you'll never find it." And at 6:46 the next morning, he did it. It was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. Gosh, Horton, you're in a bind now. What are you going to do? "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover he found that not one of who he sought was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Then on through the afternoon, hour by hour, till he found them at last, on the 3,000,000th flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe, are you sound? Are you whole, are you well?" From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. "We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that all our clocks stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," pleaded that voice of the mayor's, "will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered. "Of course I will stick by you I'll stick by you small folks through thick and thin." "Humph," humped a voice. "For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. Such carryings on in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. I'm here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly, nonsensical game is all through." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws, whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, that we shall boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezel nut oil. "Boil it?" gasped Horton. "Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you." "Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor," Horton called. "Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you are really there. So call a big meeting. Get everyone out. Make every who holler. Make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezel nut stew." And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville town square. And his people cried loudly. They cried out in fear, "We are here! We are here! We are here!" The elephant smiled. "That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well." "All I heard," snapped the big kangaroo, "was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." "Grab him," they shouted, "and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dump speck in bezel nut juice." Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too much for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into his cage. But he managed to call to the mayor, "Don't give up! I believe in you all. A person's a person no matter how small, and you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it, and all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles, they beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops, and on old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, on clarinets, oompas, and boombas and flutes. Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky. And the mayor called up through the howling, mad hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong, quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" Through the town rushed the mayor from east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing their best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched from floor to floor. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker, quite hidden away in the Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J. A very, very small shirker named Jojo was standing, just standing, and bouncing a yo-yo. Not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp, and the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the small twerp. And he climbed with him and the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. It's time for all who's who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noise in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad. Every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, "Yop!" And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, the voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too! From the sun in the summer, from the rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish." Well, Horton, you saved the day. I'm very proud of you, and I'm happy to join you for our Storytime hour here today.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm here today to read you some stories for Lunenburg Storytime. We're recording here at our local library, and I found Horton at the library, so he's going to enjoy the stories too, right? Okay, he's going to just tuck under there and listen to the stories. The first story I'm going to read to you is called Arthur's First Sleepover. It's an Arthur adventure, and it's written by Mark Brown. So let's get started. Arthur was getting ready for his first sleepover. "It isn't until Saturday," called Mother. "Come in and eat your breakfast." Father laughed while he read the paper. "Some man in town says he saw a spaceship," he chuckled. "Probably the same man who thinks he saw Elvis at the mall," joked Mother. "I don't believe in aliens," said Arthur. "Well, the National Requirer does," said DW, "and they'll pay a lot of money for a picture of one." On the way to school, the girls were talking about the spaceship. Arthur wanted to talk about his sleepover. "We can have the sleepover in my tent," said Arthur. "You wouldn't catch me out in a tent with these spaceships landing," said Muffy. "Bad news," said Buster. "My mom thinks I'm too young for a sleepover. I can't come." But you have to, said Arthur. It's my first sleepover, and you're my best friend. Why do they call them sleepovers, said Francine. No one ever sleeps. That afternoon, Arthur told his mother about Buster's problem. Well, I'll see what I can do, said Mother. Arthur crossed his fingers while she dialed. Buster's mom did all the talking. Yes, no, of course not, said Mother. Absolutely good. Good talking to you too. Bye. Mother smiled and nodded her head yes. Hooray, cried Arthur. Does Buster's mom know about the spaceship? Asked D.W. I saw flashlights from one today. I think that was a pizza shop sign, said Mother. Saturday morning, Arthur was outside making the tent cozy for his sleepover. His family helped too. I was just thinking, said D.W., how do we know you're our real parents and not aliens in their body? Did you brush your teeth? Asked Father. And pick up that mess in your room, young lady, said Mother. Okay, said D.W. They sound real to me, said Arthur. Arthur was looking for his flashlight when Buster and the brain arrived. It was here a minute ago, said Arthur. I wonder if you'll see any aliens, said D.W. If we do, said Brain, how will we communicate with them? Forget about communicating, said D.W. Take pictures for the National Requirer. Use my camera. We can split the money. Let's get some signs, said Arthur. Good idea, said Buster. But first I have to call my mom. After they finished their signs, they unpacked. I brought a few snacks, said Brain. I brought a rubber snake, said Arthur, to keep D.W. away. What did you bring, Buster? Just my baseball cards, said Buster, and my blankie. Do you think we really will see aliens tonight? No. Do you? Said Arthur. Highly unlikely, said the Brain. The boys forgot all about the aliens. They were too busy telling jokes and trading baseball cards. Pillow fight, screamed Buster. Quiet, said the Brain. What's that sound? Footsteps, whispered Buster. And they're getting closer, said Arthur. Oh. Pizza delivery, called an unfamiliar voice. Compliments of the sleepover parents. Everyone laughed. I almost stopped breathing, said Arthur. I almost wet my pants, said Buster. Before they knew it, they heard another voice. Lights out, said Father. It's after 9. Bedtime. Already, said Arthur. Thank you for the pizza, sir, said the Brain. You're welcome, said Father. Good night. Good night, said the boys sweetly. As soon as they heard Father go back into the house, they shot out of their sleeping bags like cannonballs. I heard bedtime, said the Brain, but I didn't hear sleep time. Let's tell spooky stories, said Arthur. How about cards, suggested Buster. Just as it was Arthur's turn to go fish, they saw the flashing lights. They dropped their cards. It got very quiet. Aliens, whispered Buster. I don't hear any footsteps, whispered Arthur. Of course not, said the Brain. They haven't landed yet. Lights flashed again. They're headed for our tent. Run for your life! No one could find the flaps. Help, screamed Buster. Let me out. The tent collapsed. That didn't stop them from making a run for it. But a large maple tree did. Ouch, said Arthur. I'm calling my mom, said Buster. Look, said the Brain. The lights are coming from your house. I think I know this alien, said Arthur. It's from the planet DW. Arthur noticed the things they used to make signs. They gave him an idea. Let's put our tent back up. I think I know a way we can teach that little space creature a lesson. Later, Arthur crept quietly into the house. DW was in her room laughing. What's so funny? He asked. "What are you doing up here?" said DW. "Did you come in because you were scared?" "Not really," said Arthur. "I'm returning your camera. You'll probably see an alien before we will." "I doubt it," said DW. "Well, just in case," said Arthur. Sweet dreams. Then very quickly he returned to his tent. A minute later, DW heard a tap on her window. "Aliens!" she screamed. She screamed so loud it woke everyone up in the neighborhood. Everyone except Buster, the Brain, and Arthur. When Mother and Father went out to check, the boys were sleeping like little angels. Of course, after Mother and Father went back into the house, it was another story. The end. And that's the story of Arthur's first sleepover. It sounded like a fun sleepover, but they were sure afraid of aliens. But they made it through. The next book I have for you, let's see how Horton feels. Did you like that story, Horton? I hope so. The next book I'm going to read is called The Brand New Kid, and it's written by Katie Couric. You may know that name. She's a famous personality. Let's get started. Ellie McSnelly and Carrie O'Toole were running and laughing their first day of school. Their first day of school was today, and they wondered just what was in store. Would this be a good year? Would school be a bore? They kept fingers crossed they'd be in the same class, and on a big table that they had to pass, they checked to find out to which room they should go. McSnelly 240, O'Toole, I don't know. "Oh, here it is, dear. You're 240 as well." They squealed with delight. Oh, gee, this was swell. 240 meant they would both have Miss Kincaid, the best teacher by far in the whole second grade. They took their seats quickly. Miss Kincaid called the roll. Emily Allen, here. Tyler Antole, here. Peter Barzinski, Rachel Brooks, here too. She went down the list until she was all through. Then she got to the boy who was not in her book. "We have a new student." They all turned to look. His name is a different one, Laszlo S. Gasky. He's new to our school and the town of Dulaski. "Please welcome him here. Won't you all please say hi?" But the students just turned and stared at the new guy. His hair was so blonde, why it looked almost white. It stuck out all over. It didn't look right. His lips were bright pink, his eyes very blue. He looked at his feet and he fidgeted too. He was quiet at first and then yelled out, "Hello!" His voice boomed so loud it made Ellie say, "Whoa!" The other kids laughed. Gee, this new boy was weird. Too different and strange to fit in, they all feared. "Now, class," Miss Kincaid said, her voice shrill and tight, "let's focus on learning and getting things right." She turned from the students. White chalk was her tool as she wrote, "Welcome back to Brookhaven School." They sharpened their pencils and they picked up their books. All morning long, they kept shooting him looks. They headed to gym class, a quick softball game, and when they went to pick teams, no one mentioned his name. At lunch, Ricky Jensen, who thought he was cool, made everyone laugh when he shouted, "Hey, fool!" As Laszlo was leaving the line with his tray, somebody tripped him. His food, it went every which way. The students all froze as they saw Laszlo's face with French fries and ketchup all over the place. So these first weeks were lonely for this brand new kid. They made fun of him, all that he said and he did. So he kept his head bowed and stopped trying to please, and simply prepared for the next taunt and tease. That sounds terrible. I wouldn't want to be that new kid. Boy. One day after school, Ellie walked out the door and she saw someone she hadn't seen there before. A lady whose face looked so tired and worn she had tears in her eyes, and she seemed so forlorn. "What is it?" Ellie asked of a student she saw. "Oh, that's Laszlo's mother," said Susie McGraw. "Her son's having trouble. She might pull him out. This school may be wrong for him. She's full of doubt." Ellie watched Mrs. Gasky as she walked toward her car. She thought about how things were going so far, about Laszlo and how he felt different and strange, and wondered aloud just what she could arrange. Boy, the mother looks very upset and she's got tears in her eyes. That's not good. "I've got it," she said. "I'll ask him to play at my house or his after school ends one day." The next morning she walked up to him at his locker. "Would you like to come over and maybe play soccer?" Stunned, he said, "Please come to my house and play." So Ellie said, "Sure I can. Let's pick a day." "How about Thursday?" he said with a smile, a look that hadn't been on his face in a while. They walked home from school with their books in their arms, passing meadows and fields and a couple of farms. They arrived at his door greeted by his French poodle, and Mrs. Gasky was there with a plate of warm strudel. Who makes strudel for a play date? I don't know, but it sounds awful good. As they munched on the pastry, they made quite a mess, and Laszlo said, "Do you know how to play chess?" Ellie said, "Yes, but I'm not all that great." "That's okay," he replied, and he soon said, "Checkmate." The afternoon ended. Ellie said, "This was fun." Laszlo just smiled and said, "Hey, thanks a ton for coming to my house and being my friend at school in a town where I just don't fit in." Looks like he's starting to fit in, though. At school the next day, this kid stopped her and said, "You are walking with Laszlo. Are you sick in the head?" Ellie paused and replied, "Now I know him. You see, Laszlo isn't that different from you and me. He's terrific at chess, and his mom's really sweet. Playing soccer, the guy doesn't have two left feet. He may look slightly strange, have an accent and stuff, but if you knew him, you'd like him. It wouldn't be tough." It sounds like Ellie's becoming friends with Laszlo. Carrie looked at her friend and she thought for a while, and when Laszlo walked up, she gave him a big smile. "Hey, Ellie, hey, Laszlo, do you want to go play?" And they all walked outside on a beautiful day. The end. Wow, so it looks like Ellie gave Laszlo a chance and they became friends. So that ended nicely. And my last story, let's see how Horton liked that. How did you like that story? Yeah, that was a good story. The last story is called The Bravest Fish by Matt Buckingham. Far below the waves, a little fish named Stanley lived with his school. Do you know what a school is? A school is a group of fish. It's not just the building you go to every day to learn. They were the brightest, sparkliest fish of the deep, dark sea. One morning, Stanley woke up late. "Hello, it's me," he called to his friends. But the reef was strangely quiet. Suddenly, Stanley remembered that today was the day his school swam to cooler waters for the summer. "Jumping jellyfish," he groaned. He hurried to the meeting point as fast as he could carry him. But no one was there. As he looked around, he saw a bright light. Aha, they haven't gone far, he said, and he raced towards the glow. But it was only a lobster counting coins. Go away! Don't touch my treasure, the lobster growled. Snip, snapping his claws. I'm looking for my friend, said Stanley. Fish, the lobster grumbled. Those others were in such a hurry to find someone, they upset my coins. Others? Asked Stanley. My friends. Join them then, snarled the lobster, and Stanley sped off. Ahead of him, Stanley saw a shimmer. He couldn't just make out a bright, sparkly fish. One of his friends. Hello, it's me, he called, swimming faster. Clonk! Stanley crashed headfirst into something hard. Jumping jellyfish, he cried. It wasn't one of his friends at all, but it was his own reflection in a shiny pearl. Stanley rubbed his bumped nose, feeling a little dazed. He didn't notice the dark shape coming up behind him. When he turned around, Stanley found himself staring straight into the mouth of a huge... I wonder what it is. Shark. Oh my goodness, there he is, looking straight at the shark, and the shark looks awful mean. Let's see what happens. Oh, Stanley shrieked. Over coral and under weeds, he sped with the shark snapping at his tail. Finally, Stanley saw a small hole in the rock below. He dived down inside it, just missed being gobbled up. Oh, that shark looks scary. Deep within the cave, Stanley shivered and shook. He felt sad and lonely. He was beginning to think he'd never see his friends again. Well, I can't stay here forever, he said at last. Stanley poked his head out of the cave to see if the shark had left. Jumping jellyfish, he squealed. The sea was a golden orange, glowing and glittering. It was the most wonderful sight he had ever seen, because there, in front of him, were... What do you think was in front of him? Let's find out. His friends! Hello, it's me, he called. Stanley, his friends cheered. Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. And Stanley told them his adventure as they swam off in one bright, sparkly, happy school. The end. So Stanley finally found his friends, thank goodness, and he escaped the shark. What do you think, Horton? I think Horton enjoyed the books today. I hope you enjoy the storybooks today, and we will see you back here at Storytime later. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Miss Jocelyn. I'm the children's librarian here at the Lunenburg Public Library, and I'm going to offer some book recommendations to go along with this story time. So the first one I picked is one of my favorite picture books when I was a kid. So this is Olivia by Ian Falconer, because he was born on August 25th. So we can celebrate his birthday by reading this book. Another birthday to celebrate, Lucille Ball, born August 6th. This whole series by Brad Meltzer called Ordinary People Change the World is an incredible biography series for kids. Next up, we have the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, Mac Barnett. He was born August 23rd, and this is his newest book. So if you want to come read it, we have it on our shelves. We also have James Baldwin, born August 2nd. This is another biography. It's a little more advanced than the Ordinary People series, but it's still a good read. And lastly, we have, of course, Gene Kelly, who was born August 23rd. This is one of our Vox books. which usually they're talking books, but this one's a singing book, and it will just sing to you the lyrics of Singing in the Rain with some cute illustrations. All right, those are my recommendations for today, and I hope you guys have a good month, and we'll see you soon.